of the most groundbreaking events that would happen after this first partition is just as this great, or we call it 4-year parliamentary session. And this is something really very important, because in 1791, the parliament, Sejm, adopts the so-called May the 3rd Constitution at the Royal Castle. This was really groundbreaking, first in Europe, second in the world. It was the first modern constitution in Europe, and the second in the, after, of course, the US Constitution 2 years earlier. But so it's, as you can see, these reformers, this civilization of Poland was at very high speed. And so we had this opportunity to be today a powerful industrial nation. But unfortunately, we were not permitted to do this. Political equality of townspeople and nobility. This is very interesting, because first, for a long time, this freedom, this Polish social freedom was actually the freedom of these landowners. But in the meantime, the cities raised, and we have huge cities, Poznań, Warsaw, Krakow. These cities are full of artisans. They are extremely rich cities sometimes, but all these inhabitants of these cities, they have no rights, because the landowners were just like taking care of everything. So now we got this introduction of something which would again open Poland for industrialization, because the cities will be the leading characters in this industrial revolution. And so we have this idea of equality of this townspeople and nobility. Peasants under government protection. We have today many interesting researches on the fate of Polish peasants. And so these peasants, they could not even say that they are Polish. The identity of these people were totally secondary. They were just like slaves. And sometimes there are such researchers, very radical, who say that, of course, we Polish people, we never colonized any other nation. We are never doing bad things in Africa, in Asia. But we would colonize our peasants. So the fate of the peasants at some villages were very hard. Sometimes this landowner, they have a right to not punish, but even kill. So the right for the first night, for example. So this was a very cruel situation. And so to take into protection, even in theory, was one big step towards, of course, the liberation of the peasantry from this serfdom. And again, this will be very interesting, because this idea of fantastic constitution, abolition of liberum veto, of this I do not agree, all this went to, of course, Nazis, because the foreign powers would stop this, and maybe we would get opportunity to follow this and to introduce this, implement this to the society, if not this inner conflict between Poles themselves. Many people, especially landowners, hated this constitution. They were first to fight the constitution. And so, of course, this inner conflict was making it for us impossible to go on, because of this foreign intervention would add the kind of impossible situation for Polish people to follow. And so, but I would just want to make it aware that this is a very interesting time for Poland, that we had this opportunity. We were, in a way, leading in social reforms European countries, and of course, two powerful nations would decided we should not follow this road. And of course, we have many people involved in implementation. Maybe one of the most important was Jan Ursyn Niemcewicz. He wrote also, and because these are politicians actually, people who would try to change the politics, to influence the society, to change the order of the society. But they knew that theater has this power of change. And so the social dimension of theater was so important that they would introduce main political issues on the stage. And this actually was very, very well perceived. They would educate many people who had no clear idea about this conflict, this political conflict. The return of the deputy. It's actually the first pure political play. They are just like discussing issues here. This is the first political comedy written during the interim session of this great parliament, Sejm, most likely between October and November of 1790. In 1791 it was performed. The audience applauded frenetically and shouted, "Viva the King!" The real deputy, Jan Szuchorzewski, who rejected the constitution of the 3rd May and in protest threatened to kill his 6-year-old son, complained against the play in Sejm. Just like today, the conservative politicians, they try to block and stop liberal plays or plays which are uncomfortable for their ideologies. This is the situation here. But of course, tragical situation was during the parliament session. He took the boy, 6-year-old son, he took a knife and said, "I will kill him if you not stop this constitution to follow." And the funny thing is that the actor, Karol Świeżawski, at the time, the most famous Polish actor, extremely rich and very, very gifted person, he impersonated the most pro-Russian aristocrat, Hetman Branicki. Branicki became symbol of national betrayal. And so you can see here the use of theater to kind of attack. The play itself is just like discussion of issues. So, moment. As you can see here, the play confronts supporters of two political camps, conservatives and reformers. Gadulski, one who speaks a lot, is the most ardent representative of the conservatives. He supports free election, so he is traditionalist. The principle of liberum veto, and opposes giving greater right to peasants and townspeople. He also insists on Poland's passive attitude in foreign policy. As you know, this is the time where there are powerful nations surrounding Poland, so to be neutral is to be stupid. The reformers' representatives are Chamberlain, his wife, and Valery, the deputy. They wanted an end to the arbitrariness of the nobility, most of whom cared only about their interest. They demanded the abolition of free election and the principle of liberum veto. They wanted more rights for the bourgeoisie and peasants, and in their understanding, Poland was to actively participate in foreign policy and fight for the interests of the international arena. And there were a few characters who were just neutral, who were just taking care about their own things. So you got these 3 different attitudes. One pro-reform, one traditional conservative, and some people who are just like close in their family issues, not thinking about Poland and its future much. Here you can see the actor, this most famous actor, Świeżawski, who is playing in the play the character, and he reminds very much Branicki in a play, although Branicki is not a character in the play, of course. So the play is just like debate, discussion of the issues. But one of the characters, the father, who is playing the representative of the conservative party, he was kind of parodying this very, very pro-Russian Branicki landowner. And so the audience was reacting with crazy applause. They loved this. And this is just pure example. The comedy is actually, of course, there is this issue that probably reformers are more right than conservatives. But still, this author was trying to present different parts and different perspectives, but still introducing the actor who was representing the most hated landowner in Poland at the time, the traitor, the somebody who was really doing bad things for Poland, was making this whole performance extremely political issue. And so the audience was kind of taking control over the performance, just like this is the time of this kind of strange situations. And more, this is something which ended up in new confederation. These reformers, this constitution, again, Russian politics, extremely clever and smart, use this hatred of landowners to kind of totally destroy Polish nation. They gave them not only money to create something like new association, we call it Targowica Confederation. Katrin, she made one of her generals to write the document of this new confederation. He was giving this in Moscow to one of these Polish landowners. They again went to small city in province, in Targowica, and these magnates expected to overthrow the late Third Constitution, but the victory over the troops loyal to Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth resulted in the second partition of Poland. The same situation. If this Bar Confederation did very bad movement by kidnapping Polish king, these guys were even more dangerous for Polish surviving because they openly attacked Polish army. And so this was, the end of this was of course the second partition. And so the things changed radically. In the second partition, only two countries were I don't have here. Only two countries would be involved, Prussia and Russia. Austria was not taking part in the second partition. Austria would be back for their third and final partition and total annihilation of Poland. And so, such a place like Big Deal and I Don't Care. There is a comedy by Franciszek Zabłocki. He was very clever and very skillful comedy writer. Of course, not much is original because, as always, he is following the French model, but he introduced something which was supposed to be pure comedy. There is one old man, whatever conflict is in his home, he is always quite, just like this Buddha man, that or Buddhist monk, he was just like impossible to get nervous. He always says whatever happens, the death, the catastrophe, some kind of injury, these are things that usually make people angry or make people react, make people lamenting. He's got only one reaction, big deal, and I don't care. And so there are these people in the play who are making kind of deal. Let's say that I make him nervous. How much I can get instead in return. So they are just like making this kind of competition. Who would make the guy nervous? And the whole play is about this. How to make a situation in which he will not say the sentence. And at the end, of course, they succeed. And this is the play. So the play is, as you can see, stupid and so. But look what happens during the performance. The audience manifested against the Targowica Confederation, which opposed the constitution of the Third Man. The main character in the play was the old man. His name in Polish, Szczęsny, and the Marshal of Targowica, one of the most important people who was opposing king, was Stanisław Szczęsny Potocki. Only this of course, very, very loose correspondence, that the name of the character is part of the name of this first person who was identified with this, as some people would say, betrayal of Polish nation. It was enough. Whenever the word Szczęsny was spoken aloud, people would shout very, very bad words against this. And so they would react on something which was not actually written. So nobody would really laugh at the comedy. They would totally ignoring the plot. Everybody was waiting for an allusion. Whenever Szczęsny was spoken, oh, Szczęsny is coming, they would just react, you fucking, this kind of. So you got the audience who is actually in charge, whatever, and we still don't know how much Zabłocki did it on purpose, how aware he was that he is creating this kind of chaotic situation of this performance reception. Maybe he was doing this on purpose. We don't know. We have no idea. Unfortunately, nothing survived. And so you can see another very famous Polish actor at the time of Siński, Kazimierz Siński, and again he was playing this when he realized that he is identified with this landowner who was so much hated. Just like this Świeżawski before, he was trying to speak with the voice of this landowner. He was trying to repeat his movements, so whoever knew this landowner would kind of recognize, this is Szczęsny. So this play